The WWE Hall of Fame is now going to be inducting great matches of all time, the Immortal Moment.
WWE has started to do Hall of Fame memorable moments. The first one is going to be Stone Cold versus Bret the Hitman Hart, the double turn at WrestleMania 13.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret Hart.
Where we get the start of the complete fan favorite, Stone Cold. So I thought that I would create a new series that we will do one match and one moment every week until WrestleMania 41. My picks for future nominees. Only criteria I am doing is it can't be in the last 5 years, because I would love to put the WrestleMania 40 main event night 1 or night 2 in the Hall of Fame, but that just happened. I don't want to have recency bias. I would love to put Are You Feeling Oozy? Is that what the problem is?
Can we just be cool?
Sammy, you got about 2 seconds to get that out my face.
No, stay right here. Stay right here.
Sami Zayn, the Bloodline. I would love to put those moments in, but I'm going to wait. It has to be five years, and I am also going to not just put matches in this, because they call it memorable moments, and so a moment means it doesn't necessarily have to be a match. Yes, the first one's a match, but what if they do just moments in time that don't lead to awesome matches? Because like DX invading WCW.
WCW. WCW sucks. Did you pay for your ticket to come here tonight? Hell no, I got it for free. DX.
That was a great moment, but there was no match involved. So we can do moments and matches. I'll do one each week until WrestleMania 41. But before I get into said moment and said match, can you comment below? All you gotta do is comment below. What do you gotta comment? You haven't seen any of the video yet? Maybe comment one of your favorite memorable WWE moments or matches. Just comment below, and then if you do, you will get a chance to win this Smoking Skull belt. It is a replica, not a toy, officially from WWE.com. I'm trying to hit 20,000 subscribers, okay? I need to hit the 20,000 so I can quit the day job and produce wrestling content full time. Once you comment below, you also got to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification and give it a thumbs up. And then you'll help me get one step closer to producing wrestling content all the time, baby. So help me out and you can win this belt. I got other belts as well. If you watch other videos, you can comment on those too and enter to win. So past, present, future videos, all you gotta do is comment. Okay, so the first moment, Plan B.
Tonight, Plan B.
Oh my God! Just happened. Are you kidding me? Rollins now. He's assaulting Ambrose. God, Rollins is destroying Ambrose.
How did he get to Seth Rollins?
The game says you never lose.
I figured let's start here because it is so relevant to our current WrestleMania 41 Plan B, when Seth Rollins takes the chair to Roman Reigns and then Dean Ambrose, thus breaking up the Shield. The Shield, if you look at that elite trio of talent right there, that is a who's who of the main event scene. You have Roman freaking Reigns, the tribal chief, who holds the belt for 1,316 days. Got a commemorative belt right behind me celebrating that. And then you've got Seth freaking Rollins. The dude was the workhorse of WWE for the last 10 years. And Dean Ambrose, no slouch himself in WWE, but eventually goes off into AEW, New Japan, and winning championships all over the place there, whether you like his style or not. And one day I do hope that Dean Ambrose comes back to the fold of WWE. I understand why he left. I hope he comes back, but either way, this was a moment. This was a moment that set all three on different paths, on to different destinies, and look where they are now. And it was such a freaking moment that it is still producing storylines. I mean, this is why Seth and Roman, one of the reasons why they hate each other right this second. At WrestleMania 40, when Roman lost the title, he lost it because in a moment of weakness, he chose revenge over beating Cody Rhodes. He chose to hit Seth Rollins just like Seth Rollins chose to hit Roman Reigns, 12, 13 years before? And Seth Rollins betrayed the Shield. Nobody saw it coming, and it's so iconic, especially that dude who yells, "No!" right before Seth hits him, and Dean Ambrose is just like, wait, what? We hadn't had a betrayal like this in a long time during that era, because they were friends. They were thick as thieves, and it was just like, no. They had just beaten Evolution, Triple H, Batista, Randy Orton. The Shield beat them. It solidified. The Shield was here. They were the new dominant force in WWE, and then Seth Rollins, the big dog, created a Roman Reigns who craved family but knew only to look within his own bloodline because he could never trust anybody else ever again. Seth had destroyed that trust, and it was just, I mean, it took a while to get there, for about 8 years to get to where I just said, but that, the siege were there. It was such a moment. It didn't necessarily lead to a match right away. There was 3 of them. They only had one triple threat ever.
This is a war in a triple threat match.
It wasn't a Hall of Fame match. However, that was a Hall of Fame moment. So I gotta put that, the Shield breaking up, Plan B, on this memorable Hall of Fame moment. Now let's go into a matchup. So I know some of you have only started watching wrestling in the last 2 or 3 years. You gotta bear with me. I've been watching wrestling for 35 years. So sometimes I gotta put my reading glasses on and be old man Chop. I'm gonna take you back to a time where we could watch wrestling on VHS tapes, where you'd go to stores that just rented out these cassette tapes, and you needed to be kind and rewind them. Okay, so here is my first inductee. Mankind versus Undertaker. Hell in a Cell.
And you think you're not guilty? But you are! Guilty for the ugliness that exists in mankind.
Holy crap. All right, so I'm going to be a little hypocritical in this match, because I have historically on this channel said, Bronson Reed, what were you thinking jumping off a steel cage and breaking your ankle? But in this match, this is the match in which we see Undertaker throw Mick Foley, aka Mankind, off a 20-foot steel cage onto the floor, and JR saying, "As God is my witness, he is broken in half." Oh my God. This was a time when there wasn't AEW just doing these moves all the time. This was a time in which, I don't know, there were things like death matches in Japan, and there was ECW, but I don't know, you couldn't just flip on a streaming service and watch wrestling anywhere. Pretty much, you either got WWF or WCW. That was it. Those were your 2 options. And if you lived in Philadelphia, you could see the carnage that was ECW. But let's just say, for the most part, you didn't get that. And unless you traded VHS tapes, you didn't see the stuff from overseas. We knew that Mankind, Mick Foley, was a psychopath because they would allude to it. They would allude to his time in Japan. They would show us maybe like a 5-second clip, but we never really fully saw it until King of the Ring. Undertaker and Mankind had some wars leading up to this, but for the most part, they had been kept away from each other for a while now. And it just so happened that Vince McMahon, who was the evil dictator of the WWE at the time, well, he was mad at The Undertaker, and Mankind was trying to gain favor with Vince. So Vince said, all right, Mankind, take care of Undertaker for me in Hell in a Cell. This was the second Hell in a Cell ever. You know how CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, they tried really hard to bring back the historic nature, the violent nature of Hell in the Cell last year at Bad Blood, and they did? Well, they were bringing it back all the way to this match right here. Although this match totally, like, oh my God, it was insane. It was insane. So how does it start? It starts on top of the cage. Actually on top of the cage. Undertaker walks up there. No. I think Mankind goes up there first. I haven't watched these matches. I have not watched these matches in a while now, so I'm doing them all off of memory. Mankind starts up on the cage, and Undertaker, he goes up there. And they're walking, and this was a time when, yeah, safety was important, but I don't know. They just weren't expecting things to happen, and you hear from other interviews that, like, the zip ties are just popping off the steel cage. Undertaker's walking across. They start fighting, and almost immediately, Undertaker takes Mankind and just tosses him off the top of the cage unceremoniously. We were just like, wait, what just happened? No way. Like, yeah. It was just so almost nonchalant that he just threw a dude 20 feet off the cage, all right? So please, like, I am only going to praise this violent of a match right here in this episode, okay? Otherwise, anything that happens now as a 45-year-old dad, I'm going to be like, don't do that. Don't do that, all right? But in this, let me have this match. Let me have this match of just praising the violence and the just horrible nature of what they did to each other. So he throws him off the cage, and everybody's just like shocked, and nobody knows what to do. JR is about to have a heart attack. He's the announcer. He's like, stop the match, and so they come and get paramedics. The paramedics are starting to come out. This was a match that they had built a big selling point. Undertaker at the time was one of the only big names that WWE really had. Triple H and The Rock were still coming up. Stone Cold Steve Austin was fighting Kane later on in the night. Bret Hart was now in WCW. Shawn Michaels, back injury. It was like there wasn't much to advertise, right? And this is one of the marquee matches that they're advertising, and it's like, it's over in the first 3 minutes because they just tossed the dude off the cage. And so now they don't know what to do. They can't get the stretcher. Around the Hell in the Cell. So they have to lift the Hell in the Cell. They think Mankind is dead. So they have to lift the Hell in the Cell with Undertaker still on it so they can get the stretcher. They put him on. They put Mankind on the stretcher, and they start to wheel him back. They start to lower the cage. Match is over. They're like, okay, well, I guess the match is over. And then the insane dude, Mankind, gets off of the stretcher holding his arm. Mind you, this was a real fall. You know what broke his fall? The Spanish announce table, all right? 20 feet. He was hurting. So he comes like this, and Undertaker is just watching him from high above, and the dude grabs a chair, throws it up there, and starts climbing. Or he threw a chair either before the match started or right here. I can't remember what, but there's a chair there, right? And he starts climbing, and everybody's like, no way. They're about to do this again. They're about to restart. And boom, he's up there, and I remember this camera shot so vividly. It is a core memory. Them going for each other, and they're just like, it was like two warriors, right? Two zombie warriors going at it on top of the cage as the cage is click, 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 starting to buckle. Undertaker grabs Mick Foley. And choke slams him. The cage breaks. The top of the cage just breaks, goes under. Mankind falls now. He's falling again onto his back. He slams on the back, but that chair that I talked about then comes crashing down on his face. I don't remember if Mick Foley said that he's had more than if it was twice or if this was the only time he's ever blacked out in a match. He was completely knocked unconscious because the top of the cage was not supposed to break. Mick Foley actually says that fall, even though it was less because there was a ring, was actually, it hurt more. Plus the chair falling from about 15 feet above onto his face immediately on impact hurt more as well than the initial throwing off of the 20-foot cage. So let's rewind a little and review. Thrown off a 20-foot cage onto an announce table, thrown through the top of a steel cage that was not supposed to break, landing on his back on the ring while a steel chair falls. Yes. And now all those paramedics, they're rushing in again, and Terry Funk, who is real life best friends with Mick Foley, well, he didn't he was feuding with Mick Foley, right? But he was so concerned. He came out there, was like, just stop, because he was really concerned. This was the chaos of the Attitude Era. There was points when it was just like completely insane, and like what was real, what was not sometimes, because they were just trying to push that envelope so much. And he's like, just stop the match, just stop everything. They're trying to, and then eventually Mick Foley wakes up, like legit unconscious, wakes up, now has his tooth coming out his nose, his legit tooth coming out his nose. I don't remember if his shoulder was dislocated or not, but it was definitely, he kept doing this. And he was just done. He was just like, he was a mess. And Undertaker climbs down from the top into the ring, choke slams Terry Funk. Terry Funk is trying to buy Mick Foley time because Mick Foley's like, give me a minute, I got this, I can do this. They should have stopped the match, but they didn't. And then they proceed to have a match where Mankind, it's almost like he's dead for the next 10 minutes. It's like he's barely moving. The most he can do is when like Undertaker tries to hit him with something, he can fall out of the way. So Undertaker hits the cage or something. And it was just like, it was just so crazy. Eventually, he starts to regain his composure and he starts to fight back like as an actual and it's like, how is he continuing? How is Mick Foley continuing? He takes a bag from under the ring, tacks everywhere. He gets put in the tacks and he will eventually lose. But like, I'll tell you this. People watching that, we had no clue what we were in for. The crazy thing is, he comes back out later that night to interfere in the Kane match, and the next night on Raw, there's this spot, I remember this spot where Kane goes to take a real sledgehammer, he swings it as hard as he can at Mankind, who's like propped up against the steel steps. Mankind just kind of falls out of the way, and it was like the loudest sledgehammer shot I'd ever heard. I was like, what if the dude had not moved? We would have killed somebody on the USA Network. But back to the match, it was just so insane. So insane. I heard that when he got back, Vince McMahon was like, thank you for doing that, but don't ever do anything like that again. Because this was a time in which WCW was killing it in the ratings. And when we saw that, when fans saw that, like, oh, man. I can't remember if we had already fallen in love. I was always a Mick Foley Mankind fan. Well, a Mankind fan, Mick Foley fan. But there was these 3 interviews that had happened. I can't remember. I think it was before the King of the Ring. And so, like, those interviews got the crowd really loving him. Yes, it was. And so the crowd was already... Was it? I can't remember. I don't remember if this was the moment in which the crowd fell in love with him or not. But it was definitely the moment when no, the interviews were before. Then this happened. He turned heel at some point in between. But this was when like Mick Foley could never do wrong again. That was the moment in which Mick Foley was forever in the hearts of anybody who watched wrestling. This was the moment that Mick Foley is forever a legend right here. And so this match has to go in the Hall of Fame. Has to go in the Hall of Fame. But please put a do not try this at home or do not try this on AEW TV. Please put that disclaimer. So there you have it, my memorable moment and my memorable match. I'm going to do one of these per week leading up to WrestleMania 41. So I already have an idea what I want to do, but maybe put in the comments below your WrestleMania memorable moments. So just memorable moments, not just have to be WrestleMania. It doesn't have to be just WrestleMania. Put in the comments below your memorable moment or match or whatever it may be, and maybe I'll choose that. Maybe I'll be like, you know what? That's better than my pick. So put it in below. It can be, all you got to do is make it not in the last 5 years. Boys, girls, have yourselves a great day.